Hello, and welcome back to Tommy's Top Picks Weekly Roundup podcast, episode 162. I'm your host, Tommy, joined by John.
How's it going?
Oh, it's a good day. It's a good day. Spider-Man got revealed, even though it's not coming out till later in the year. I feel like everything's getting revealed. So we're going to talk a lot about Magic today. I played Flesh and Blood, so we're going to talk about that as well. We got the confirmed Avatar Last Airbender, going to talk about that. I lied about thinking Standard was cheap. I still think it is.
We'll argue about that.
We'll argue about that. Standard, every 8-week rotation. Going to touch on that off of a Professor video that came out this week.
Yeah.
And then Aether Drift is dead and forgotten about forever.
It's so funny how fast that hit and then disappeared.
I think it's going to bounce back. I don't think it's going to. Yeah, we'll get into it.
We talked about it. We kind of predicted this, and it sure did happen.
Yeah.
Boy.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. And it's still over my average cost, so I'm okay. I'm happy. And then we're going to talk about some Pokemon that I also lied about. So.
I mean, just a big liar.
I am. Last week, I lied a lot. So we're going to start, as we always do, with what we played. I went and played Flesh and Blood. So I went to an armory.
Yeah.
And I played Ira.
And how was that?
Fine.
That good, huh?
I won a game. I won one of the 3 games.
That's not bad.
Against a deck
not having played in a million years.
Right.
That's good. That's
yeah.
good.
And the other 2 games, the one I lost pretty definitively. The other one was like down to the last turn. So I felt like I held my own on a deck that I'd never played before.
Rock on. I mean,
yeah. No, it felt good. It felt good.
Yeah, I was going to say, that sounds really good, honestly.
So shout out to the Discord. If you do listen to this and are not just part of the Discord because it's the Philadelphia Fab community. It was really fun meeting you all because we all met at the bar beforehand and people were getting food and drinks and stuff. And I walked in and then I didn't know half the people.
Yeah.
There were 20 people for the armory.
I knew about this.
Yeah.
So I guess Gary, we could talk about because he's out there in the community.
Yeah.
I went and hung out with him. Oh, when I was selling the Fab stuff, we went to that bar and he basically walked me through the community and what was going on. And he's like all these different people. And he's like, you guys wouldn't know any of them, but we've resurged to a pretty steady crew of 20. And they're apparently all modern people.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So they're all hardcore.
I was gonna talk about that.
Sweaty people, and I'm like, oh, I'm glad I'm out.
Yeah.
So, anyways, talk about your experience. How was it?
It was really fun. Everyone was super nice. And it was so funny though because I walked in and then Gary had to introduce me to the table. And then everyone was like, "Wait, the Tommy?
Yeah,
from Tommy's Top Picks." It's yes, that's me. Yeah, so that was really fun. It was really nice to meet everybody. We were celebrating the passing of our sweet purple prince, Viscera.
Yeah.
There was a cake. It was a moment.
Was there tears?
There were tears. There were celebration. Honestly, it was a great night. It was a ton of fun.
That's cool.
And I am thinking about possibly just going about once a month, trying to hit it, just to be somewhat active in that community because they are such great people.
Yeah.
And the amount of people that were like, oh, you have to try this deck. You have to try this deck. So I don't actually have to put together anything. I just have to show up and play a deck people think I would like, and then they just want my opinion on how I felt about it. I don't know. It was fun. But yeah, the first game was the Aurora. I think it was the Lightning Runeblade. And I was like, oh, great. And then they had the Marvel version of the character. So it didn't have the text because it was flipped over. And I was just like, can we flip this over so I can see what the character does? So yeah, fumbled my way through that one, but did end up winning. And then I played the Purple Prince himself. And then
Was that legal?
Yeah, until Friday.
Oh, okay.
It was that was the whole point because it was the last armory that he was legal in CC. Yeah. And then so lost to the Prince, and then almost beat a new, which bullshit. I'm glad dear Lord. New is
busted.
There was just the tip or just the nick or something.
Okay.
It's like a 0 for 5 attack reaction.
Oh, beautiful.
Like, I read the card and then I read it again and I was just like, where the hell is this in Warrior?
Yeah.
Give Warrior a 0 for 5 attack reaction that you put on.
You're a tanky. You don't get to do that.
Warrior is the attack reaction class.
No, it doesn't matter if you're an attack reaction class. You're the tank. You're a warrior.
0 for 5 is bullshit. 0 for 5.
It's an assassin murder skill, and it's a specialty skill, obviously.
Bullshit.
Yeah, warrior will get its day someday, but it makes.
But it is not this day.
To have it.
Yes,
yeah,
sure.
You're like, shut up! I hate you.
Just that it's not even Warrior doesn't even get a 0 for 4. They get a 0 for 3.
I know they do that on purpose. You're a tank. Warrior's a tank. You get a fridge. Assassin doesn't get the fridge.
Fine. But I was playing Ninja and I didn't have my fridge.
I was going to say, why are you trying to be a DPS when you're the tank?
Because that's how I work. I play the tank and then I want to be DPS.
Well,
in every game, World of Warcraft, everything.
Fab is better than WoW and all these other things.
Fab's better than me. It's too good of a game for me.
That's right.
But no, I had a ton of fun. Got to meet a ton of people. The shop moved, so it's a new location, but it was like right next to it where it used to be, and there's so much room. Like there was a sealed Aether Drift event going on, and 2 drafts, and a D&D group going on all at the same time as our armory.
I mean, that feels like a normal armory night.
Yeah. It was just weird that there was like just as many Fab players as there was Magic, which was kind of cool to see.
And I guess at that store, one piece is gone. Oh no, this is the other store, right?
This is the other store. No, this is Philly Game Shop.
Yeah, not Redcast, which is what I was thinking. That's why I was like,
yeah.
But it was one piece. It was the one, not Magic.
Redcaps doesn't even do Fab anymore, I don't think.
Yeah. It kind of fell over.
But yeah, so maybe once a month you'll hear me talk about going to an armory and playing. Because I did have a good time. It was a lot of fun.
That's good.
But definitely not looking to get competitive into it anytime soon. Especially with like you said. And I think more and more of that's going to happen.
What's that?
More and more, like, I think I forget if we were mentioning it just before the pod or on the pod, but how it's a bunch of competitive modern players.
Oh yeah. That
are coming over to Fab.
They caught the itch.
Yeah.
And it's an incredibly good competitive game.
Yeah.
And that's what they were there for. And Modern went through a rough patch and apparently now recovering. What I've read, and I don't know this from personal interactions, just from what I've seen online, is that a lot of people that tried the standard thing are kind of annoyed with it and moving back to Modern. But at the same time, I think a lot of Modern players ended up getting pulled into Fab for the competitive, like, tight game, you know?
Yeah, maybe it's just the cycle.
Well, and plus, like, you know, people, like, they get bored of a game, they go to another, they come back. Like, I'm not saying any of this is permanent. I'm saying this is a moment of shift that seems to be happening that I'm reading about and seeing out there in the world. So
yeah. I mean, I see it online on forums. I'm seeing it in person that really competitive Magic players are switching to Fab.
Yeah.
Not all of them, of course.
And that was a while ago that I was hearing about it, so they're pretty steady.
Yeah, like it's a stream. It's not this was a period in time. I think it's gonna continue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think.
But when you're as bad at card games as I am, you need that little bit of RNG.
Yeah, I do. I do. That's definitely my tactic. Is random winning the day.
Yeah. Cool. So you want to go into
Spider Pig.
The Spider Pig is here. We learned a lot about Spider-Man. Where to start? All right, we're gonna go over some facts that we learned, and then we'll go over opinions on it because I have a lot of them. We have 3 set symbols, so not as crazy as OTGA, but getting there. And they're not as far-reaching either. So there's no commanders, no commander set,
No Commander decks.
No Commander decks.
Makes me sad.
This is a standard set. Very standard focused. Limited focused, hopefully. Hopefully the limited format is good. So we have the SPM, which is the standard symbol. And then SPE, which is an expansion, and MAR, which is just a general marvel, which makes me think that that is the one that is going to continue across sets. So just the SPM is going to be standard legal, then SPE and MAR Commander, Legacy, and Vintage set legal only. So with the power of these, I doubt that they are going to make a big effect on Legacy and Vintage, so probably Commander only for all intents and purposes.
Probably. I mean, they might have some of an effect. I don't know what's out there that could synergize with some of this stuff, you know?
Yes. You cannot get the SPE cards in play boosters, but you can get the MAR.
That part's freaking crazy if you ask me.
They are
did it that way.
Yep. So they are non-standard legal, but they are in play packs for draft.
Wait. No.
Yes.
You can't get the... Oh, you're talking about the MAR ones? Yeah, but they're going to be in the... They're going to end up being in the... what do you call it? The special guest slot.
Yeah, I'm assuming that that's the special guest symbol.
Yeah. It has to be. Yeah, it has to be. I was more thinking about the craziness of the... not standard legal, but the modern and legacy legal of the freaking...
They're not even legal in modern.
The showcase scene box cards.
They're not legal in modern.
I thought they said it was.
Commander, Legacy, and Vintage.
Oh, Vintage. Oh, okay.
Not modern.
Yeah, I thought it was modern too.
Nope.
Okay. All right. Well, then that's less crazy.
Yeah.
That's less crazy. Okay.
Like
you can only get it by getting that display box, and people play modern. Like that,
wait, what?
You know what I mean? Like the art box or whatever they're calling it.
The scene box. Scene box.
Yeah, the scene box. Yeah.
Those are Commander only, essentially. Commander, Legacy,
and
Vintage.
Legacy and Vintage. That's my point. I thought it was modern too.
Nope.
I was like, that's insane.
Nope.
But it's not. So it's less of a big deal then.
Yeah. And we have MSRP of the set, similar to Final Fantasy play boosters, are going to be $6.99. Collector boosters $37.99, bundle $69.99, and scene box $41.99.
So a play booster is going to be what, $150? Is that what it ends up at?
No, that is over $200.
Is it really?
Yep.
Was it 24 packs?
30.
I thought they cut the packs.
From 36 to 30.
Oh, okay.
Jeez. It is $209.70 MSRP.
Yeah, so you know when they cut the price and I was like, I don't believe this is actually what they're doing.
Yeah. So here's the path that
it's proving right.
Yeah, so we've been talking about this. This has been a thread over the past couple of podcasts, and I think we have our answer of how it's going to go. So what they did was they decreased the amount of packs. Aether Drift is the cheap box. And then because it is universes within, and they didn't have to pay for an IP, and it is less than 30 packs. That is here's your box. And then we'll probably have the same thing for Tarkir. And then Final Fantasy comes up, here's the Universes Beyond tax. That's where that starts. And then we'll go Edge Attorneys, and that'll be a cheaper box again. And then, hold on.
What was the number you came up with for the $6.99 MSRP? 200 and something? 210?
Yeah.
Okay.
209.70.
But it will be less than that.
Plus tax. Yes. Yeah, that's the MSRP. Boxes never sell for MSRP. That's not what they're going to come out as. I bet you they will be under $200 for release.
I mean, I'm just looking at Final Fantasy pre-sale, and it's under 200 right now.
Yeah.
173. Now, granted, is that a good deal, quote unquote, because it's under MSRP?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so. So then Spider-Man will have this inflated price again for Universes Beyond. And then I think, like, at some point in 2026, they're just going to be like, you know what, for retailers and everybody, this is just too confusing. We're going to make them all the same price across the board. And then Universes Within becomes the Universe Beyond price, because they're not going to bring down the Universe Beyond price to the Universe Within. And then everything will be this price.
Yeah. I mean, I said that last week, and I know I've said it on and off at different times, but I was like, I feel like this is just a game of shuffle, right? Like, they're just shuffling the cup, and you don't know what's actually going on, and you can't compare anything to anything else intentionally, so that you don't really know. And then they settle on a price that's much, much higher or much less packs or whatever the combo of things is, basically their margins go up.
Yeah, I could see a world in 1 to 2 years where the average play box, if it's still a play box, is 30 packs, 150 to 175 bucks average. Maybe closer to 200.
Yep. I agree.
Because within 2 years, they're going to do another shenanigan.
Oh, yeah. They always do. There's always a new cycle of tricks and things and whatever.
So, another thing that's just making me think that these $100 draft boxes that are still sitting out there are... But do people even care? Will people go back? Maybe not. I don't know.
I don't know either. It moves so fast and there's so many sets. How nostalgic are you going to be for Aether Drift? You know what I mean?
No, it's going to be like the big hitting sets. Like, how nostalgic are you for Lord of the Rings? Very. How nostalgic are people for Phyrexia? All will be one compared to Nuka Penna, right? Like Phyrexia, I think had a bigger hit than
it did have a big story IP. Like basically, people care about Phyrexian stuff. Versus,
correct.
Yeah, that's fair. So they'll be.
So I think
so Aether Drift will be like the Nuka Penna, the experimental weird playing situation.
Right, and then you have Bloomburrow. That's
Bloomburrow would be like the Phyrexia essentially, or whatever.
Yeah. So you just have to. I think Universes Beyond, and then I think Avatar won't do as well as Final Fantasy and Spider-Man.
Yeah, I'm curious. We'll have to see.
So I think there's just going to be hit or miss ones, and you focus on the ones that are big.
Well, so far on the Universe Beyond, they haven't had a real miss. I would say the closest to a miss was Doctor Who, but they kept it really small, so it kind of worked.
Just Commander and Collector boxes, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really glad Final Fantasy is going. What?
Have they had a fail with Universe Beyond yet?
Not really.
Yeah,
Assassin's Creed.
That's probably the one. Yeah.
The Beyond boosters. I'm so glad they didn't continue those.
Yeah. Well, and again,
because we were back in the day, we were concerned.
Very limited thing, right? Like it's not the full game at release. So
true.
It's interesting how that's working.
Yeah, I remember when we were scared that Spider-Man was going to be a Beyond booster. I'm so glad it's a limited environment.
It definitely seems like it could have been.
Yeah.
Well, they've so far navigated that well.
Yeah.
We'll see. Oh, so just to update. Sorry, I'm looking at prices. Aether Drift Collector, $195.
There you go.
So it has dropped. And plus 14 shipping, but still.
Yeah.
So that's still okay. So it's still holding 200.
Yeah, it's still holding over store costs, but
it's
not much.
It's not the
stores are
we were saying.
Stores are probably losing on that with fees.
Yes, probably, unless they ordered a shit ton and got a really low price.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In which case, they're stuck with a lot of Aether Drift. So this will be the first collector box to just kind of flop. How long does it stay down? And, is the supply too much? All that stuff we'll find out in a few months. I'm trying to think, did any other recent collector box get under 200?
Last one was OTJ?
Yeah, OTJ did for a little bit. Yeah, it did.
And I think Murders is going down again?
Murders definitely was for a while there, but that was still kind of in the transition.
No, but I think it went over 200, and I think it's back down under.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Economic headwinds hitting, all products crashing.
I think things are horizontal.
Yeah.
Like the down isn't big enough to be like, oh no, it's down, but it's, people are trying to move it quicker.
Yeah. Well, it's time to panic. Everyone's panicking.
Good. Please continue panicking. But yeah, so we have another interesting thing about the play boosters. You get the 6 to 7 common cards, 3 uncommon, 1 wild card of any rarity, 1 rare of mythic card, 1 traditional foil of any rarity, 1 basic land, and 0 to 1 MAR card. So, what is missing from here? Oh, and 1 non-foil double-sided token. Notice anything missing from the play booster?
Definitely not. What?
There's no art cards anymore.
There haven't been art cards for a while, I thought.
There have been art cards in every set.
In the play boosters?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't think I realized that.
They're not a guaranteed. They're not in everyone.
Yeah, they're a token slot.
Yeah, they're a chance in the token slot.
Yeah. I don't know. I've never cared about them. I've tried to sell them. They don't sell. I've had them. Like, I thought they were cool when they first came out way back in the set box situation. I liked them then, but basically realized that they were kind of useless and no one cared about them from very early on and stopped caring about them.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I don't have a strong feeling for them, but if there was a set besides Lord of the Rings that I would collect these, it'd be Spider-Man.
Did you collect them for Lord of the Rings?
No.
So you avoided set boxes.
Yeah, I did. And now I have a bunch of them. But not to open.
Well, how will you complete your collection of art cards then?
I said if there was a set. But what
I mean, there is, right? If there's a set box that had art cards, I'm assuming. It used to be in the set box. Did they change that too?
If there was a set that I wanted to collect them all.
Oh, I see.
I see. Yeah. Like even Lord of the Rings, I didn't feel the need to.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, they're not really that interesting. They're just a filler slot.
Yeah. But, yeah, I don't know. Just a weird thing that I noticed. What was the other thing? And so then we have the scene box with the Sensational Spider-Man, Venom, Deadly Devourer, Green Goblin, Doc Ock, Pumpkin Bombs, and the Tentacles.
And those are basically your commanders without actual commander decks.
Yep. Here, go build around them.
Yeah, there's 4. 3 of them are bad guys. 1 of them Spider-Man. Boy, I called it.
Mm-hmm.
Called that.
And then we got collector boosters. 12 packs, each containing 15 cards. There are art cards in the collector boxes, but not in the play boosters.
Wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
They never did that before.
1 art card or traditional foil double-sided token.
Did they do that before? I don't think they did that before.
They moved the art card. Are these going to be foil art cards?
They might all be signed. The gold signature one.
That by different comic artists?
Yeah, that actually I could see working in there because those were the only ones that ever held any value, was the gold signed ones, right?
And if they take...
If it's comic artists that people love, then it creates a more collectible situation. So that actually makes sense. That's almost actually a good use for art cards. I still think they're garbage, but that's like one of the few places where that would actually make sense and actually be interesting for collectors.
Yes, yes.
I don't know if I like it. And if they do it where only 1 in like X are gold stamped like they did before, then that's going to be garbage. That's going to be a horrible way of doing it because you're going to have a lot of just chaff from like you have to open so many collector boxes. If that's the case, if they're all gold stamped, then that's probably a good play.
Yeah. Then we have the bundle with the 9 packs, 30 lands, alternate art promo, usual stuff, and then the scene box that comes with those borderless cards and 3 play boosters and 6 art cards. And a display easel. And then...
Oh, it comes with art cards too?
Mm-hmm. 6 art cards.
Garbage. Then they're going to be garbage.
I think it's...
That's like a super cheap product, right?
But I think it's the same 6 cards.
Oh, so it's like...
you get to put on the easel.
Yeah, that's a different story. Okay.
It's its own thing.
Got it.
Yeah, you're paying $40 for those 6 promos, essentially, and 3 packs.
Got it.
And then we have the welcome decks. All monocolored, a white, a blue, a black, a red, and a green. With Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2099, Venom, Spider-Gwen, and Miles Morales.
So there's your 3 good guys.
Yep. Spider-Man theme welcome decks. What?
Is the blue one, is that a good guy or a bad guy? I can't tell.
He's a good guy. He's Spider-Man from the future.
He looks like a bad guy.
Yellow Harris. 230. Each box contains the following: 2 30-card half decks. Of the 2 half decks, one will match the welcome deck box. The other is randomly inserted from among the other options. There are 5 different monocolor half decks. Seems pretty cool. This seems like the way to teach people how to play. That's your...
I like the somewhat random too.
Like, I think it's not standard.
That's not a bad move. I think that's pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Curious how that is received by the world, but that actually I
think it's just so you don't end up with 2 people with the same deck.
Well, exactly, and that makes it a little bit more fun to actually grab these and play. You know what I mean?
Like if you both want to play Spider-Man, you don't have the same deck.
Yeah, I'm curious how the market receives this because I actually like that product engineering there. Like that's pretty interesting.
And then you can learn the tricks and thwips of Spider-Man with the pre-release pack, containing the 6 boosters, stamp, spin down. But it's just, I don't know. I find it really funny that it's just like Spider-Man's chest on the pre-release box.
Yep. The art, very Spider-Man-ish.
Yeah.
I was actually a little surprised. I thought there'd be a few different styles to it, but it seems like they are consistent throughout.
Yeah. So one thing we did gloss over on the collector box.
What's that?
No serialized cards.
Yeah. That's fine by me.
Well, sure. Does that change things and make it less crazy than Final Fantasy is going now?
No.
Yeah.
Like I've been saying, having only one serialized card means it has almost no impact on the actual box.
Yeah.
If there's 10
there's
or
proof
whatever,
of that too.
That's what I mean. Every time there's one, it just basically gets ignored by the market because it's so freaking rare. You can't count it as being a possibility.
Right.
500 cards out of
But that's what's holding up like boxes, the Lord of the Rings boxes. I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, but there's a lot in there.
There's a lot
of good ones.
But then there's
not just a lot, there's a lot that people want. You know what I mean?
Because there's a lot in Brothers War, but not
but people don't want them. Yeah, exactly. Although most of those have actually gone up more recently. So I wonder where they are now. I haven't looked in a few weeks at least.
The boxes have been moving up.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like they're kind of getting to that age gap where they start to move up. So the cards themselves probably are leading some of that.
Yeah.
Because I know they were low stock last time I looked.
Yeah. So that's all the products. How are you feeling?
I don't really care about Spider-Man.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, I wasn't expecting.
I'm not really excited about most of that. You know what I mean? Like I'm also not excited about the sets for the rest of the year. Really, I think the space one's probably my most interesting one.
Not Tarkir?
Yeah, Tarkir just because I have a dragons deck and I want to upgrade dragons, but I don't know. I kind of like Tarkir. I don't know. It's not my favorite. Was it Lauren or whatever that
next year
canceled? Yeah, that was probably the most exciting of what was left. And now that's gone. So yeah, I'm kind of like meh for the rest of the year. I'm not against it. Like Final Fantasy's cool. I'm not gonna buy it. I'm definitely not buying a collector's box of that.
No, I think I might pass.
I'm just giving it. It's too expensive. I don't need to blow that kind of money.
No,
I just don't
no.
And there's plenty of people that want it. So
and there's a lot of other just better deals out there.
Oh yeah, exactly. And it's like that's probably the biggest, most hype set for the rest of the year. And I'm like on it. So everything lower tier than that, I'm pretty on as well.
Yeah.
I might buy a Tarkir collector's just because there'll be cool dragons in there, cool arts. You know? And it will probably be a reasonable price.
I think I think buying Tarkir around Final Fantasy's release date is the play.
I wonder if that will hold up or if it will be another Tarkir box that is crap for decades.
I meant the collector box, but
no, I know. I'm just saying. I'm wondering if Tarkir as a theme will just suck because it's closer to Final Fantasy. So people save their money, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Tarkir just forever cursed to suck. Doesn't matter when they release it, what it is.
I mean, think about the sets that came out around Lord of the Rings.
I know. That's why I'm like, it's a high probability Tarkir's reign.
It's just gonna suck. Final Fantasy is just gonna suck all the money away from all the other sets.
Exactly.
But stores have to get every set.
Well, they don't have to, but yeah, they definitely get penalized if they don't. So
yeah. But I don't know. I'm very excited that it is. I'm a little disappointed about no commander decks, but
I mean, they give you the commander cards. I'm kind of okay with that because I don't want to buy the commander decks most of the time because they're mostly reprints. You know, like 10 new cards, 13 new cards, whatever.
Yeah. Oh well, these I like the Universe Beyond ones. I like to get as like a board game. I don't change them or.
That's fair. That's
like
fair.
The Lord of the Rings ones I have.
Yeah. That is going to be missed from this. That's true. That's a good point.
And I'll grab them for Final Fantasy because I have a lot of friends who are into Final Fantasy.
Good way to play and get them involved.
Yeah.
So,
but it'll be a little different with
your standard thoughts.
My standard thoughts.
It's so cheap. You can get a Gruul deck for $185.
You can.
And then it's gone in 3 weeks.
Yeah. So I think it's very similar to any like staying competitive in a constructed format. There's a tax for the cards are valuable now, but they may not be next cycle.
That's fair. Yeah. The cycling affects
the price. It's all the speed of things. Yeah.
That makes sense.
And you're not really sure what. So sometimes you can get lucky and you don't need to redo your deck at all, and you don't have to do anything when the cycle happens. And sometimes your deck just falls.
Yeah.
And you need to build a new deck. But I find that it is, when looking the two games that I know the most, Magic and Flesh and Blood, I feel it is a lot cheaper to switch decks in Magic than it is in Flesh and Blood. Just because of the way the legendary equipment works, the way a lot of heroes just don't share cards.
Yeah, I could see that. I did see something because I sent you a little argument about this with the it was like a Reddit argument related to the video that the professor did on the 8-week cycle.
Yeah.
And the thing that one person said that I thought was interesting was that they said, because someone was new and they were asking about it, was think of it as a down payment, because you won't be able to use all those cards. You will have to shift some stuff, but you'll have like a framework that you can work with in the future for the next couple of years.
Yeah.
So that is a very good point. Difference between like fab costs and Magic costs. The investment doesn't get burned as quickly if you shift.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. Then in that sense, an argument, I can agree with you that standard is cheap.
Yes, it is not a cheap card. No competitive format is a cheap hobby.
Cheaper-ish. That's where I will go.
within the realm of competitive card games.
Yeah, that's fair. Actually, now I'm on your side, because I'm like, you're insane every time you said this before, but now I get the context in which you're arguing it, and yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's not Pokemon cheap, but I mean,
yeah.
Then you're playing Pokemon.
Yeah, I mean, what are you doing with yourself?
Yeah. I think but at the same time, you also have to understand that it is a window of time that you are buying into. Now, I think Foundations is why it's doing so well and why it's so popular. People are, like you said, that down payment's going to last 5 years.
That will.
You can play those cards.
Those Foundation cards are actually a great down payment for getting into the format.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
And a lot of them are playable. They're really playable cards.
Well, that's my point. The design of that product is really good because it's like core critical kind of cornerstone cards that build out the archetypes, that build out the basis of a lot of different types of decks. And so you buy a bunch of those, you build decks from them, just buy singles, right? But buy the singles you need from Foundations, and you'll be able to use them in the next green colored combo deck that you have. So your green white, your green black, your whatever, right? They'll end up being useful in those because they're a bunch of the useful cards. Yeah. That makes sense. So I have to give a little more credit than I have so far to the redesign of how they're trying to do standard.
Yeah.
I still don't know about this Universe Beyond impact.
Same. Yeah. It's
ultimately is gonna be a problem for the format, but we'll see.
Yes.
I think the extra cost that's associated with what's going to be the most powerful standard cards probably is going to be an issue,
Yes. Yeah. I mean, you're going to have your $100 shield rids, right? Like you have your $100 Command and Conquers. You have every card game has this one card, but not every deck plays it.
Yeah. But I think a lot of them are going to end up being the Universe Beyond, which means even getting access to them has a tax inherent just because of the IP.
Right. But with the collector boxes and how popular they're going to be, how much does the fancy versions of Final Fantasy cards suppress just the play box basic version that you need to play?
I guess that's the hope.
And with how much you can imagine they're going to print that play box.
I am unconvinced on that argument just because we've seen the play boxes run out.
That's what's been freaking me out too.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I'm not 100% sure that's accurate.
You know? I know. No, but what I mean, like the play box may get expensive, but a lot of them will be printed and a lot of them will be open for singles. So I think the singles market will be healthy for a good amount of time. So if there are cards in that like 2 weeks after release window where all the stores get all their inventory up, I think picking cards up then that you think you'd be interested in playing isn't a bad idea.
Well, that's what I mean. It's like you understand it's going to cycle, right? Yeah, so it might be the card now, but you get 8 weeks with that card, and you have to buy it in the hype to actually make it useful in your stand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And,
you're paying.
It's going to be an IP tax card, so just opening the box to get that single is more expensive.
Buy singles.
The singles are going to be more expensive because of that. That's where I'm like, I'm not sure. I know. Yeah, I'm not so sure. And if the play boxes are limited, as they appear to have been recently, which that's a big question mark. We don't know if they're reprinting them yet, right? That's only a recent thing.
In Rudy's video yesterday, I guess the Bloomborough and Foundations are back, and they should be more inventory of that should hit next month. They're at the printers now.
All the ones that have run out, basically, we can expect. Is that true of the IP yet, though?
I would assume so. I would assume. Like right, but Lord of the Rings had a time window.
That's true.
So if
that's the example, then it's like a 2-year window. Yeah, that's true. That's fair. Especially if it's going to impact standard in a
that you have
they'll protect it. Yeah. You're right. It makes sense.
The collector box is nuts. It's going to be nuts. It's going to be stupid. The play boxes, I think, will.
I'm talking for standard play and the impact on that ability to do it. I think.
And by the time it needs a reprint, I think there will be enough. There will be a lot of singles.
Well, and that's the trick is like, how long does it actually stay as a viable standard staple, right?
Exactly. And then every 8 weeks.
8-week rotation. That doesn't mean every card goes out every 8 weeks, but it does change what the meta is.
Yes.
So I imagine the core ones, the powerful IP-driven cards, which they will probably stick around longer. Hence IP and overpowering it specifically to make those cards sell, etc. So they'll probably stick around longer, but
And the way
it could work out. We'll see how it's balanced, and then of course into the markets that we're looking at.
Sure,
economic
we'll get there at the end.
Yeah. This is going to be an interesting year for sure.
Yeah.
All right, Aether Drift, your favorite set?
Yeah. So far this year.
Is it really?
I mean, that or Innistrad.
I think I'd take Innistrad over it, and I'm not sure I like Innistrad that much.
It's my favorite standard set this year.
That's fair.
So far. No, I have not drafted it since I got that champion. Yeah. It's not a great limited format.
I'm not that interested in it, honestly.
And with that being the format I'm interested in, I'm just kind of saving my gems for Tarkir. I'm going to draft that a couple times and then really saving to draft Final Fantasy like crazy. Because honestly, like the 8-week rotation, how I engage with Magic is mainly Arena right now and then selling cards on TCG Player. Mm-hmm. And the 8-week rotation on Arena is great. I love it because it shakes things up every 8 weeks.
Yeah, you can come back. Yep.
But I totally understand the difference with physical cards. And with physical cards, I really enjoy limited. And with that, you lose paying the tax of committing cards to a format in a period of time. Where with limited, I can get a bunch of boxes, put them on my shelf, and then choose the format I want to play. And have all the cards I need for it. Does that make sense?
That's fair. Yeah, it does. Yeah, I'm just thinking through it. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Makes sense.
So it's the paying the down payment of the box when it's cheap, and then sitting on it and waiting till I want to play that format.
Yeah.
Because I think with Final Fantasy and Spider-Man and just the way sets are going, some sets will be ignored and there will be cheap play boxes. I think we see play boxes come under $100 for these in-universe sets. It's already happening with Aether
Drift. I was gonna say it definitely is happening.
Yeah.
So I think the weak ones definitely do. I think they might even go down to like the 85 range for some of them if they're overprinted. The question is like, because this is the part that is probably the hardest for WotC to predict accurately, is how much to print given the market situation at the time it's coming out, because they have to make that decision so far in advance that, like, say we do see an economic slowdown, which we're talk about in a minute. There's going to be less demand, and as that less demand is hitting the supply that was decided like 2 years ago or a year ago or whatever the time delay is, like, there will be a moment where there's just too much of something. It's going to happen, and they'll react to it as they have in the past, but it will take a while for that reaction to be seen in the market. So we'll have like 2 or 3 sets, whatever the time delay is, worth of sets that will be missing the mark, right? Will be overprinted essentially, given the situation. So yeah, I think we're on the verge of seeing that moment. We might even already be seeing it. I think Aether Drift Collector Box is a pretty good example of something going under 195, which we haven't seen that on a collector box at release very frequently. And I think the last was like Murders, right?
Yeah.
Maybe OTJ. I know OTJ dropped to that point at some point, but I think it was a little bit later.
Yeah. To be fair, Aether Drift did not really affect Standard.
Well, that is going to be the way with Universes Beyond, though, because to protect those IPs, they're going to put the power in those, So Standard, non. God, I hate the fact that they're not like Standard and not. You know what I mean? Like, okay, non-IP based Standard
Universe within sets.
Universe within sets. There we go. Are, I think, by default going to be worse cards. Otherwise, you're going to get a power creep cycle that will be too much.
Standard's already pretty crazy.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think it's just by default you're going to have that. Now, I guess Tarkir will help prove out that point, because it's a universe within. It's freaking dragons, which tend to be overpowered anyways. So if I'm wrong, we'll see my wrongness with the dragons, right? Pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And based on the 1 or 2 cards we've seen so far, there are some bonker dragons. So
yeah, for sure.
We shall see.
Yeah. It'll be
all right. What else we got to talk about?
I caved. The other thing I lied about. I bought Journey Together.
Big liar.
I got a case. Paid $185 a box.
Is that good? I don't even know what prices for that were.
It doesn't come out till the end of next month.
Well, yeah. So you paid a pre-release price?
Yes.
What's wrong with you, madman?
I think the 160 for 2025. I don't think we see MSRP on Pokemon booster boxes. They are selling. They're down to like 216 now. They were in the 220s on pre-release, selling over 100 boxes a day consistently.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Over a month out.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And there's so much, like, distro.
Is this the rip and ship, you think?
It's a combination of things. It is the rip and ship. It is the proliferation of the YouTube Pokemon's fear of what we've helped push, and we're part of the problem. Enough.
Problem. What?
I think it's become mainstream enough to know that Pokemon boxes go up.
Okay. So you have money just flowing in for the sake of attendees.
And buying anything and everything. Because the attendees are buying the booster boxes. The streamers, rip and shippers, would buy the booster boxes because they're the most efficient, but can't because they're the most expensive. So they buy up all those collection boxes from distro. And then there's nothing.
Yeah, I'm trying to look through. I'm going to repeat it. I've said it so many times. I hate the way Pokemon products exist. It's so hard to find matchable data within
so
like
this
TCG
is this is the set that has the Gym Hero stuff.
Yeah, I remember.
And this is
it
the
has
set.
The booster box, right? That's the thing you bought.
It has a booster box.
Yeah.
And it has, for the first time, and now something that's going crazy right now in Pokemon is stamped cards, stamped single promos.
Okay.
These booster boxes come with a full art stamped promo with every booster box. People like to grade these for 10, try and get 10s, and then they sell for an exorbitant amount. And you can only get this in the booster box.
Right.
So it's a box topper, but one that people are actually going to care about. So you're guaranteed a hit essentially in the box, because that card is gonna sell well. If you buy the sealed box, so there will be a premium for the sealed box, just like there always is, but now with an even more legitimate reason why.
Right.
And then following this, we have I think it's Destiny Rivals. Forget if that's the English or Japanese version of the set. But essentially there's going to be one with like the villain leaders. And that's where some of the Team Rocket cards are going to be.
Oh, gotcha.
And so just the next two sets look crazy and bonkers. And with everything going on with Pokemon, I don't see it slowing down. And so I see an opportunity where I may not hold on to this case very long. But I'm happy to sit on it a long time if it does go down, and then I will just dollar cost average and buy more.
Tommy.
Yeah.
You're out of control, sir.
Yes, correct. I do not deny. But just the sheer volume of sales is wild.
Like, yeah, I'm looking back at I bought the Battle Styles and the Vivid Voltage. Yeah. There have been more sales, not many, but still more sales at that higher price range. So I did get that pop, like the market is holding there. Like, that's pretty good. I'm proud of myself. I'm pat myself on the back.
That was a good call.
I did a Pokemon thing. I did a Pokemon thing, Tommy, and it worked.
It was a good call.
I thought it was the top. That's how it always works.
I was focusing on the Lord of the Rings set boxes when you got those.
Good for me. I did a Pokemon thing. It only took 4 years of talking about Pokemon before I did it right.
Well,
every other time I've bought it's been the worst possible time. It's not quite true.
But. No. I think you did pick a good time. But yeah, just the link I sent you to go to the 1 month view, and just the amount of sell through is wild. I think this box could easily be $250 on a month after release, similar to like Surging Sparks.
Again, for me, it's all about supply.
Yeah,
they have not increased the supply. It doesn't seem like.
No.
And then the demand, right? Like, if we get a market crash and the money gets pulled back, which I don't know if Pokemon would be hit as fast as things like Magic. I think Magic would get a pullback faster.
Yeah, because there's more supply out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's where I'm not 100% sure. Plus, Pokemon is a massive IP. Like, you cannot deny. Yes, Magic's the #1 selling like TCG.
Yes,
but Pokemon's bigger than just the TCG world. So
correct.
It will have a little bit more sticking power, I think, in a market situation than Magic, which is a player-driven game. There's a collector component to it, but it is very player-driven too.
Yeah, I think Magic boxes have a floor lower. No, don't have a floor as low as Pokemon though. Like if Pokemon loses this,
when Pokemon crashes,
it crashes.
It's hard. Yeah.
Where Magic, like if it reaches a certain floor, people are like, "Oh, I can open that for singles."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's a little bit of a different dynamic with the way the markets work. So.
Yeah, especially with collector boxes and now play boxes, even. Yeah. But yeah, so I caved. I grabbed a case. I wasn't going to, but then I saw a deal and I was just like, okay,
whatever.
Yeah.
See how this one goes.
Yeah, just because so think about it, right? This comes out end of March. And then if the supply is crazy, what's the first thing they're not going to reprint the set that just came out. They're going to try and catch up and capitalize on the sets that have moved behind it. Like Surging Sparks, and they can't print enough Prismatic Evolutions, and Like they have a backlog of things that are going crazy. And you have empty shelves. So you're not going to reprint the set that just came out.
Not very quickly. Yeah.
No, yeah.
There's other stuff that will be higher priority. And so far we haven't heard any rumors, any details about reprints happening, right? They still haven't done it.
They had that announcement like 2 months ago.
That they would.
Yeah.
But they haven't. As far as we've heard. I haven't heard anything about it.
No. I mean, I want them to. Please do.
Yeah, well,
I miss $500-$600 Pokemon cases.
I'm actually a little curious why. Like,
I think they want this new MSRP to stick.
Either that or they're having printer queue issues,
which
getting things
ties to Magic running out of play boxes. Is that a industry wide?
I'm curious because you got to think about it, and I have no idea if this is true.
So this kind of segments into our
pure speculation here, but perhaps some of these limitations on the supply that we're seeing, it doesn't make sense. The only thing I can think of is that they're in preps for tariffs and costs increasing for them. And I don't know how much this impacts, but what's wood pulp cost to make cards out of and all that ink stuff, like card. Like, I don't know how that works in card space. I have no idea if they are getting hit at all. But if that is a factor and they're kind of prepping their markets for it, that would be a thought process, right? Like, I don't know though. And it is clearly happening across multiple things. Maybe they're just being greedy. They're like, we'll just limit supply. And then the markets go bonkers. And
every time, Yeah, I mean, they can put out 2-pack blisters. They put out all these things that aren't booster boxes, and they're already going for like 3 times the amount it should be.
Yeah, something's up, and that's very weird for Pokemon.
But like stores are paying more.
Last so long.
Like distros charging stores more than MSRP. Yeah,
all rip and ship. They've ruined it for everyone.
I don't think it's all, but yeah, it's wild.
So. On to the macro.
One thing I could see, like, they're an era. So during COVID, when things went crazy, Vivid Voltage was a $250 box. Is it $250 now? It wasn't for a long time.
I don't know.
But let me just.
Shouldn't ask questions you don't know the answer to, Tommy.
It's $190.
No one wants to listen.
It's $190. So what I'm saying is, Vivid Voltage, 3-4 years later, is not the price it was during the crazy hype cycle when it came out.
Okay, but how many actually sold at that price? I doubt that many, honestly.
A lot sold. I remember seeing a lot on TCG Player.
Okay.
But then it was just reprinted eventually later.
It came down.
It came down.
Yeah, could happen with this too.
Yeah, so that's I just wanted to cap it with.
Yeah,
yes, things are crazy now.
Be aware.
Be aware. Look at Vivid Voltage. You can only go back a year on TCG Player, but yeah, I mean, even if you go back a year, in March of last year, it was $135 a box, where at its peak when it came out was like $250. So
yeah, there's a big. Like, don't underplay the big Pokemon pullback.
No.
Because that was a factor.
Yeah.
All of Pokemon crashed.
Oh, yeah, everything. Yeah. So, yeah, just to keep in mind.
Yeah. Point being, there is a potential cycle.
Yes.
So keep an eye out for it.
And we are at the high end of a cycle.
Like Tommy just did, you're usually risking a 5-year hold.
Which, yeah, I always am. Whenever I buy sealed, it is always risking a 5-year hold.
So, on to the macroeconomics. A lot of things I've been warning about seem to be coming to pass. Super sad. Would have preferred not to have all this happen, but it is happening. It looks like there's a preliminary data point that came out from the Atlanta Fed that looks like GDP is going to be negative 1.5% for this first quarter. And what that means, if it's accurate, now remember this is a prediction and these do get revised a lot, so don't take it as absolute. It's not absolute until we get the actual quarter data. But It's a warning sign because you don't usually see these predictions, so it's a pretty big warning sign. If that's true and we do it for 2 quarters in a row, we will officially be in a recession by rule of thumb. It's not actually official. There's a whole
Didn't they change
set
the
of
definition of it again? So
no,
it
they
isn't two in
never
it? Okay.
changed the definition. They never changed the definition. The rule of thumb, which is taught in like Econ 101 textbooks, not advanced econ textbooks, but in and the very basic ones, is 2 quarters of negative GDP.
Yeah.
Now that's a rule of thumb, and I'm pretty sure in most textbooks it even says it's a rule of thumb because the actual definition is set by NRB something or another. I can't remember what it is, but it's basically an economic organization that researches and studies a ton of stuff besides just GDP, and they take into consideration a bunch of other factors. And that's why it can look kind of like a recession, but then not be declared one, or be declared one and not look like it based on that rule of thumb. And the reason is because those other factors that come into play have different weights to the impact of the decision. And so you can have a situation like what happened where we had 2 negative GDP, but it was like negative 0.1%. Like it was on the line of basically being neutral. And when you consider the factor that that number has an error on it,
yeah.
Did it ever actually go negative? We don't actually know because within the margins of error, right? So point being that this would be a pretty significant one, right? Negative 1.5 is a different number than being right on the 0 line. And if it actually comes to pass, it may end up being worse by the time that happens because it's very preliminary, right? So we have another month of data before we even get to the point of that. Anyways, point being, you don't see these kinds of warning signs very early or very often. This is early. We will see if it plays out. A lot of these things do get revised, so keep that in mind. It's not a definite, but it's yet another red flag of, oh no, bad things happening. And when you consider the tariffs are going into effect as of this week, you look at the job losses from the federal level and, good paying jobs. So that's a big chunk of the middle economy. And then you start looking at the job market, which also had some data this week, 4 days ago. Basically, it showed there was tightening jobs. There just weren't as many jobs available. Again, this is not the market has crashed. There's, unemployment. It was not a giant spike in unemployment. It was a tightening of the market in a way that's like, okay, it's starting to happen. So again, red flags, no definitive data. I can tell you a lot of people are concerned. A lot of people are holding back spending. The uncertainty and doubt component that we've seen has hit a lot of different places. Like we talked about Pepsi products and stuff like that. I saw the same thing on pizza. Pizza is another one of those like early signs. People have stopped ordering pizza for themselves. So that's another, like, the common man can't afford to eat extra, right? And pizza is considered like an extra. And then credit card debt, again, another record height of credit card debt. So point being, the average American is tightening their belt, and that will impact the broader economy. And when you see that kind of thing happen, demand for luxury products, such as luxury squares of cardboard, goes down. And when it goes down, if they don't adjust supply quick enough, then prices will crash. So bringing it back to that. Another factor, which is an interesting one, because I'm not sure on the full correlation. I believe there is a correlation, but I'm not convinced as to how correlated it is. Mm-hmm. Rudy talks about this a lot, is crypto has begun to crash. It came from, I think 108 was its all-time high. And this week it fell below 80K. So that's a pretty significant pullback. It's not an unbearable or unbelievable pullback for crypto. 20% crashes happen all the time in crypto history. Like all the freaking time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, if it ends up falling, which actually it's already bounced back to like 85 right now, or 87, something like that. But if it ends up falling, like if this bounce back is just kind of like the dead cat bounce, if it ends up falling below, I'd say maybe the 72 to 70 mark. If it goes below that, that's probably the end of the cycle. And that probably means crypto is on the way down for the next couple of years. If it doesn't fall below that point, and when I say fall below, I mean like stay below for more than a 24-hour cycle, like a candle stays below. A spike, because we have these weird spikes down all the time in crypto. If it spiked down below and then it gets bought up again, that's actually probably a pretty good sign that it won't crash the rest of the year or whatever. But if it stays below for like a 24-hour period, you get a candle below, then you're essentially saying, okay, I think that's it for crypto for the next couple of years. And at that point, most people tend to move into a bear cycle mentality. And what that is like a slow DCA with less at that point, right? And more as it kind of bottoms out wherever the heck that is, which is, probably like 20K, 50K, somewhere real low compared to where it has been. I actually have to look back to see what the next line would be, but point being, wherever. And that takes years to clear out until the next bubble. Now, that would be unusual from a crypto market cycle standpoint. Usually, that wouldn't happen until after one more spike towards later in this year, post halving years, etc. That's a standard cycle, but there's a lot of things that have done different stuff with crypto this year. For one, the ETFs have come into play,
and there was the largest outflow this past couple of weeks.
There's a lot of other things that are playing with this market that are new and have never played with this market before. So you cannot rely on historic trends to hold up when there's new inputs and factors. So the ETFs are one. Another one that is bullish for it is the reserves. Like a bunch of states are setting up reserves of crypto, and
I heard about
Bitcoin. That. Yeah. So point
Isn't
being,
there
for the
like
crypto world, it's a very uncertain time. It could be going up, it could be going down. That is, and it's and very dramatically in either direction, which is pretty interesting. These are my favorite times in crypto because you never really know.
Yeah.
And as relating back to Cardboard, we have heard from Rudy, who actually accepts crypto payments for Cardboard, so he has really good data on this. He sees a correlation. When crypto's up, he gets a lot more sales in Cardboard. Like not just crypto sales, but sales in general. So he sees a correlation to high crypto prices, high Bitcoin price, showing more willingness to buy Cardboard, to let TCGs. So if that is actually true, and again, I don't have that data, it's just trusting his word on it because he said it.
It makes sense.
If that is actually true, pay attention to the crypto market because we are at an inflection point. It's either going hard down or hard up, and we'll know within probably the next month or two. And if it's, and whichever way it's going, will probably have an impact on TCGs, assuming Rudy is telling the truth and all that stuff. So, which I think he probably is.
Yeah.
So. Wild times, wild economic times.
I wish it need not have happened in my time, said Frodo.
Yep.
Haha, said Gandalf, hitting his pen for the 18th time in the past hour. That was me all past 2 weeks. Yeah. It's going to be an interesting year.
This year's wild. I can't
wait
to see it.
Brand new Magic stuff going on. We have possible World War III.
I don't know about all that.
I know.
That was dramatic.
No, just referencing the great Oval Office conversation. Yeah.
A lot of trade ambiguity, a lot of cost to move products between borders.
Yeah.
Although I did import something over the last week or two and didn't have too much of an issue. They lost it for a minute, but I didn't have like a major cost at it. Now, granted, the tariffs aren't in place yet.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so it's not.
Does that matter when you order it? Or when you receive it?
It's when it hits the border.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah. So that stuff is going to have an impact. Like I said, they're supposedly starting, I think, on Monday. Yeah. So we'll hear pretty quickly if like lumber costs go up, right? Because that's
another sign.
Yeah. If lumber cost goes up in the next week or two, like dramatically.
I know it pre-moved up too.
Yeah, there's always the people that speculate on it, and you can get some signals, especially in commodities, from that. Yeah. But you have to be careful because the market prices in things incorrectly all the time, right?
Yeah.
And so you can end up assuming something's going to be terrible when it ends up not being terrible, and then you're overspent on something because of that speculation bubble. That was a moment. So just be aware of that. I do think it's going to happen. Like the threats have been here since September, October, whatever.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, and when it happens has kind of been the question mark, and it seems like it's going to happen this week, but we'll see for sure because he's backed out of basically every time he said he was going to do it up until now. So they may back out again if there's a lot of pushes on it. I know there was an issue with U.S. egg production with bird flu, I guess it was.
Yeah, it's in New Jersey now.
Yeah, our egg prices have spiked more so because any company takes advantage of those spikes and adds a little of their own onto it, and I guess there's some potential trade deal with Canada on it, which would then maybe delay the tariffs again.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. It's a wild year.
Yeah.
Economically, it's very hard to predict. Yeah, buckle up, Buttercup. Save some pennies.
Yeah. Should be interesting.
Yep.
Cool. Well, if the world's still spinning next week, we'll catch you guys later.
Have a good one.